Welcome to the Melbourne Property Podcast, hosted by Sky and Lindsay Hammer from Convergence Buyers Agents, your local property experts.
This podcast is your go-to source for insights, trends and tips on navigating the ever-changing Melbourne property market.
Whether you're buying an investment property or your dream home, stay tuned for the next 30 minutes as we give you exclusive insights that will shape your next property purchase. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Sky and welcome to another episode of the Melbourne Property Podcast. Today we're joined by some special guests in studio. We're going to do a deep dive on Frankston and surrounds. And so for those that are worried, no, it's not going to be me talking about Frankston in depth again. I've actually had a couple of really good sales agents, a father-son combo down in Frankston who do a lot of sell some really good stock down that way. But as always, I'm joined by my co-host Lindsay. Lindsay, how are you today?
I'm really good, but I'm mostly looking forward to hear what our guests have to say. So a very well-known duo, family-run business. We've got Juan and Josh Merchant from Merchant Realty Group. Thanks so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thanks, Sky. Very excited by the podcast.
Very good.
You guys are the Frankston experts. You know the area really well. So keen to hear a deep dive into what you know. But yeah, maybe to kick things off, you just tell us a little about yourselves and we'll take it from there.
Josh, you can go first.
Well, I was going to say Dad led the way, but a bit about me. Grown up Frankston my whole life, so know that pocket. You know, Dad grew us up there. His dad was living there and came down from Canberra, so
From
been in real
Canberra?
estate. Yeah,
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So been in work in the market for about 10 years now. So know the area back to front and love a bit of footy on the side, but outside of that, it's a little bit about me.
I just assumed you were born in a suit, coming out doing sales straight away.
I had to clean the offices. I was a little bit of the videographer for a period there. So.
You were.
Yeah.
So how long, Juan, have you been working in the Frankston area, particularly in real estate?
24 years.
Wow.
So, 25 years next year, which will be, I'll do a bit of a celebration, I reckon. It's But it's a great part to work in and beautiful town and great community. So,
nice, And it's not too many father-son combinations. You see some, but it's good to have, I guess, a father-son combination. Yeah, I don't know if our kids are going to get into real estate or not. We'll wait and see. But, it's order, I think, if we've got to pick one. But we'll wait and see. So,
how do you guys go working together?
Good, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think we both have different strengths. Let's put it that way.
that's very important. Very important.
I actually don't know what the listeners think about, so I have no idea. But I'm not the details person. I'm chase a deal, find a good property, get excited about the numbers.
Yeah.
Lindsay's the kind of pulling it all together, making sure everything kind of flows as it should as well. Yeah,
that's
very good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if you know, but we do a little thing on the podcast where we talk about what we're loving in Melbourne right now. Yep. So maybe, Sky, do you want to get started? What are you loving about Melbourne right now?
So we spoke about live music, I think, last time. For me, it's like Spring Carnival. So this time of the year, again, it was ruined by the weather in part. It was a very wet Spring Carnival, but Cup Day, Oaks Day, Stakes Day, it's just a good vibe in the city, but also just from people. I think obviously not everyone's into horse racing. I don't mind it. I'm not, obviously, I don't care too much about the other side of things at the moment. But I think if you live in Melbourne, it's still a really good time of the year.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I was going to say the same. Even just getting a day off, it's great. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. What about you guys? What are you loving about Melbourne right now?
Yeah, the race weekend, the Spring Carnival. I think the ability to get away. I took a few nights away and went off to Paynesville, so it was nice and relaxing. And I feel like this time of year we're meant to be, like you said, Lindsay, it's meant to be good weather, but it's a bit inconsistent, but it's leading to the better weather. So we had a good day in there as well. So
yeah, certainly the Spring Carnival's, an amazing time of the year and the vibe in the city. You just go along the banks of the river and we were up there as well. Actually last week.
You were but you were more, that was a bit of a
You were
somber.
trackside?
Yeah, I didn't get trackside, no, unfortunately, but just the vibe in the city, it's amazing time of year. Lots of visitors from all
Even just
all over the
music.
place.
I think you mentioned you went to Metallica. Was that last week?
That was just on the weekend. Yeah, we
fantastic.
went to Metallica and it was amazing. And Marvel Stadium, was rocking and took my 15-year-old son, which was first ever rock concert and he wants to go back for more, so pretty exciting.
I almost forgot. We went to the symphony for Gladiator. You guys done that?
No. So they played the movie
And then
incredible.
live symphony.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Unreal. Like Mum and Dad had gone and watched Top Gun and I was like, and then Mum was like, oh, we'll surprise and do Gladiator.
Cool.
Gladiator is one of my favourite movies. So I was like, went there. I did not expect it. Like I'm not a, musicals and that sort of person, but went there and I was like, this is unreal.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I have to add it to
Definitely worth it.
Yeah.
It is.
Very good. Back onto property.
Sounds good.
Back on the property.
So I think, so for your own background, we're like the listeners are well aware, we're Frankston and the surrounds. We've been buying a lot there over the last 12 months. Love it as a market. But keen to hear from the selling side. Like, what are you guys seeing? How has it changed since maybe, let's go back 2 or 3 years ago. Like, what was it like then versus maybe what is it like now? And then we can maybe take it from there. Yeah.
Certainly the buy activity was substantially lower in terms of demand. I think since you've been buying, you've probably been driving the prices up a bit.
Don't say that.
But no, I'm joking. But look,
for the record, that's the Sydney interstate VAs that are doing that.
very true. Very
Which is
true.
also probably why we haven't actually bought and sold too much property together, because there's a lot of that happening. But anyway, side note, let's continue.
But no, look, it's certainly 2-3 years ago, it was you would have an open for inspection, and it's a good gauge for a client to see how many people through. So if you're getting north of, say, 10 people or 10 groups through, it's considered a pretty good and high activity. 3 years ago, you were getting 4 dribs and drabs. So you're getting 4s and 5s through. And a lot of the owners were still COVID prices. So what was going on a few years ago where you just put it on the market and off they went, there was a bit of a lull there for a period of time. So we saw, what was it, last year?
Last year, grand final, realestate.com put out a thing about the top 10 suburbs to watch. Frankston was one of them. And it was like, given you've got the hospital, all that infrastructure going in, that was the biggest kicker. And then since then, the end of last year, we had some really good auctions that went well. And then start of this year, we're seeing unrenovated 3-bed, 1-baths going for over 7. And that wasn't pretty common at the time, and then all of a sudden that's just really taken off this year. So
absolutely.
And how many people would you get through these days?
Look, a normal campaign now, we're getting roughly between 60, 70 groups. That's our numbers. So when we're doing an auction campaign, it's well received. That's sort of the level. If it's tracking slow, you can generally tell by the amount of people. And as you would know, like if you walk through an open and there's hardly anyone there, you know that there's probably not the fear of missing out's not there as much as what it is when there's multiple parties. And we see it often where, mums and dads, they'll go from one open, they'll come to the next and they're looking at each other and they're like, we saw the other one. And they're just sort of going, we just, bid it against them at an auction. We didn't get it, they didn't get it, but we're keen to buy. So there's a lot of that happening at the moment. So
how are you guys finding it?
Yeah, so us, I guess definitely the supply side, like through spring, we didn't see as much as we thought. And obviously we probably speak to more agents than you do because we're calling up everyone, and it was pretty consistent across the board. Like I spoke to one again recently. He had his worst spring. He's done it for 20 years. He reckons it was his worst spring he's ever had. So in this area. So just like the market is flying. But again, like particularly for you guys, the toughest job is actually getting listings because there's just not much up for sale.
That's
people kind of now sitting on the fence. I don't know, and maybe you can probably expand on that now. But like, I guess some of the resistance or what's the mindset right now for people that are considering selling but are deciding to maybe hold off?
I think it comes back. The interest rates not going down. There's been some clients sitting on the fence saying, we'll wait for next year when the interest rates go down. That's a common denominator at the moment.
It's just something that's in mind for people. When the interest rates are influencing the market as they have, it's just always just in the back of their mind, and it's like, if we wait, we'll get a little bit more money. That's the psychology. I feel like this side of the year, there's not a lot of. Spring. We thought September. Normally speaking, that's when everyone comes on. Normally, your Cup weekend, you have a lot of launches, but it's been a lot more quiet.
We tend to find like we had a fairly quiet. No, I wouldn't say quiet, but wasn't as busy as what we thought in September. We had a huge October, and we've got a fair bit of stock coming on already now. We've got a lot of auctions already penciling in for late Jan, early Feb already, which is interesting. So a lot of owners are sort of like, we're not sure whether to sell before Christmas because it's always a bit of
it's a tricky time.
It's a tricky time. Yeah. So
we don't want to go live and then you're at the mercy of the 2-week lull over that Christmas break and you can't open and people aren't there. It's
a
bit hit and miss. So
No.
And what sort of homes are selling fast at the moment? Is it like a family home? Are they bigger blocks of land?
Turnkey seems to be really, anything that doesn't need work, it's just move in. they go real quick. We are seeing
even original. So
original,
if it's in between and there's been a bathroom done or a kitchen, they're the mismatched ones. But turnkey or original homes are going really well. 3 to 4 bedroom seems to go well.
Anything over 600 square metres as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're getting a lot of people, in particular the investors, are looking to get bigger blocks because they're looking at the zoning of what's happening in Frankston and et cetera. So, there's some really good parts of Frankston you can certainly buy, and you'd be surprised with the zoning in terms of how many levels you can go up, which is, I think, quite impressive.
Yeah.
With the major activity centre, that's definitely changed. I think a lot of investors have looked at that and gone, that's amazing. And then the hospital going in is just another big tick. So when they improve the infrastructure, that's where people then always seem to go. So it's good to see Frankston getting a better rap.
Yeah, exactly right. And we get that all the time. Like for us, we're, I guess there's two ways. One, we're very numbers focused, which is the kind of in the weeds data, days on market, stock on market, that type of stuff. But also the bigger picture, like in infrastructure spending and that type of thing. But we get a lot of people reach out because, I think again, it's probably Domain and REA that put out these posts. But it's they hear about the upgrades to the hospital, or they hear X developments happening, and like they almost make an investment decision based off that. And so they're reaching out to us saying, "I'm buying in Frankston because of this." And I was like, I guess it's one of the reasons too, but sure. But again, it definitely, I think it's almost the negative reputation of Frankston's almost helping it in a way that like if they were talking about Dandenong or Pakenham or something, like someone from Sydney, it doesn't really resonate as much. Whereas for whatever reason, I think Frankston has that sticking and the water.
It's funny.
That's Sydney. I think that's the.
So that's what I was going to say. My dad used to live in Cronulla, and I often talk to clients. And if you look at Cronulla, my dad, the reason why he bought in Cronulla was it was the last train stop. So from Sydney, you catch it from Circular Quay all the way down. You're in Cronulla. I look at Frankston as a place that's really on the up, and it's a last stop, and you've got Mount Eliza only a couple of doors away, or the next suburb over, and they're basically going. There's properties that are selling. I know in Frankston South, 17 million. You got multi-million dollar properties just down the road. So Frankston's it's had a bad rap, but it's on the way up. We're seeing that, and the quality of clientele that we're getting, a lot of young families and
people who are going to get into the actual housing market and then renovate, add a lot more value to the properties, and then that'll pick up the area. You were saying, you made a very good point the other day. It's the cheapest beachside suburb on the peninsula, and it's now overtaken Rosebud. But if you look outside of that, you've got two major shopping precincts, two major freeways, and once they make Frankston a bit more of a destination, and kind of make, with the towers going in all the apartment complexes, that'll really pick it up. If not, it'll take it off. Because you look at Mornington, that has you go down Main Street. Frankston, you just cut straight through and go through to Mount Eliza or the Peninsula. So it'll be good to just niche it down and then people actually enjoy it. So.
Yeah, we as part of our strategy sessions with new clients, we run through like a heat mapping of this is explained from a data perspective why we're buying in these suburbs. And you basically just run them down the coastline. You can see that you start in Brighton, you say $2, $3, $4 million. You work all the way down the coast, it's $1 million suburbs all the way down. You hit Seafood, it drops to like $890 house price. Frankston, high sevens, which I think it's definitely higher than that on the ground in the eights now.
I think the data's not.
Data, if you go off CoreLogic,
up to date.
CoreLogic and REA, they tend, we use both.
Almost 10% difference.
10%. And what we feel in the market, I would say it's more leaning towards that 10%. So the CoreLogic, I'm not sure.
Well, it's a 12-month median, so it's outdated by the time you're looking at
we mostly use
now.
HTAG for that, and because they kind of it's not as practical, I guess, from the selling side, but they look at typical house price, and so what they've done, they've kind of changed it so it weights the more recent sales more than the ones from say 10, 12 months ago. So it's kind of, you'll see if it's in a hot market, the typical house price is way higher than the median. So it's a bit more reflective of what we're seeing on the ground.
Okay. How do you guys track? You seem pretty data driven. How do you go off?
We've got probably 10 different platforms that we use, but HTAG is the one.
HTAG, who runs that? Who's the
It's a couple of individuals. It's not like it's not owned by anyone.
Okay.
It's not bought out by anyone that I'm aware of. Anyway, if you've seen my bubble,
that's
Josie, that's from hashtag data.
Okay. Because I saw this video and you've got Sky's head and bubbles in the background, and you're like, what is watching? It's really good. I was like, did you make that? I was how did you?
It's made in Tableau, like a data platform, but it's using that data to do so. We're running anyway. Sorry, we got off topic there. We're running you run through the median house prices, typical house prices down the coast, drops off in Frankston, and then you go to Frankston South, and you're back up to 1.1, Analyzer 1.5, 1.6. It's just this little pocket of affordability on the coast. Yeah.
And the great thing with Frankston, like Josh pointed out, you've got two major shopping centres. So Kringle Hub had a major redevelopment or major makeover
during COVID.
In COVID, and the hospital, they spend over $1 billion. So part of the preambles when I call an auction, I'll talk often about what the benefits are of what you get for free. And, you look at in Frankston, there's 20% of local area that's just parkland. So, a lot of people come from, different parts of Victoria and they just go, it's such a great spot. We didn't know that Frankston existed. Because you drive past, if you're on the Penlink, you know when you're near it.
Yep.
You're close to Kringle Hub, but then if you go down Murdoch Highway, you're going past the cemetery and you look out there and they go, oh, there's Frankston. There's the cemetery. It looks really cool. But if you go down the Peen Highway and you drive up Oliver's Hill or you're driving down, it's like you're on the coast of Amalfi. It's just picturesque. So to me, it's just an amazing part of the world.
Yep, sure is. Yeah, and for those that haven't done that, that's not agent hyperbole by any means. It's the truth. Like it's a truth. Actually, like the drive down when you're kind of up in the hills and you're driving down, like when the sun's up. It's incredible. Yeah.
Well, they've actually got some works. I saw the councillor, and he was saying that they're doing some works on the left hand side. There used to be a car park, and it still is, and you can stop, look over there. But they're actually going to get rid of the car park, and they're going to make it a family-friendly area where people walk up the hill. There'll be trees.
Put some seats down. People can make it a bit more of a scenic.
It would be real scenic,
Lovely.
So, and you got the cafe down, all the little ollies, which is great. So.
Nice.
So the big puddle, and that's why people want to be near the beach. We saw that in COVID. Yeah. So many people that were locked up in, say, in the inner city, a little tiny box, and they're like, where do we go? And they would just, it was crazy. It was like, fishing with dynamite. Like you'll just put a property on the market and it'll just fly out the door. I think that's where a lot of agents have had to adjust after that. Yeah. It was so easy to sell. It was, the experienced agents got a lot of listings because they had their database or recommended, the referral base. But then when we finished that frenzy, it was like, what's going on? Like, we saw a bit of a lull, and that was probably 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, interesting.
And then since then, I reckon the last 12 months it's been...
it's really kicked. Yeah, more really, just over. Yeah. We've noted, just a huge difference. Foot traffic, visibility, Frankston's just really, taking off, which is good.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear.
I want to talk about, speaking of popular parts of Frankston High School Zone.
Yep.
Is that difference still so stark between in the zone and out of the zone? When you have areas like Kringle that are, very family friendly as well, how do you see that as a selling agent?
Without doubt, look, having seen it, like, Frankston High is in the top 5 public, schools performing in terms of grades and marks. So a lot of people want to be in that zone. So there is a bit of a difference between if you were to buy a house in the zone compared to out of it. It's probably, I'd say it'd be 7.5 to 10% difference in price. So people generally, when they've got their children in grade 5, they're thinking end of the year they're going to be in grade 6. Oh, we're not in the zone. We need to be in the zone. We're already seeing that at the moment with a lot of the buyers that are local that are coming into that time of that year where they're like, we need to make a move because we're not in the zone. We want our children at a good public school. McClellan College is a great school. That's in the Kringle area. That doesn't have the same sort of, I would say, esteemed.
It's not as sought after.
It's not as sought after. But, look, I coach footy down at I coach my younger son's footy team, and there's quite a few kids that go to McClellan there. It's a great school. There's a force and against, without doubt. So.
And I think as more and more families and owner-occupiers are moving to that Kringle area, the whole demographic is changing and the school's going to change with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're spot on.
Yeah. I mean, we even have people that were living in Brighton, and renting in Brighton, and again, had to find a place where they could buy a house what they wanted, and they spent, like I say,
over
top
$1 million.
Yeah, but again, they're in that Kringle area as well now. So it's definitely changed the dynamic, that's for sure.
Doubt.
Yeah.
Without doubt. And when you're getting people that are buying and paying good money, it's just increasing the area and it's great.
I guess we'd be silly not to ask some tips for some sellers and buyers when they're engaging you guys. Let's start with sellers first. Obviously, we know, even for our clients that are listening, they've bought property in Frankston, they could be potential sellers in the future.
Yep.
What are some of the key tips you're giving out? Is it fixing things up, or is it like not spending any money at all, depending on the property? Like, what's the kind of the thought process at the moment with sellers?
Josh?
Well, I think you talk about the 4 Ps.
The 4 Ps,
Yeah, I think you got your presentation. I think that's probably your first and foremost. Spend the money. Promotion, you can't. We strongly believe in that. Position, you can't really change that, but that's the position of your property. We just talked about good locations and good areas. That's going to have a massive influence, and then price comes down to that. So they're your 4 major points and levers that we'll always work with a client and build out a strategy on. But we always say spend money. What you spend on it, if you're going to do something, street appeals straight away first thing to do. And then if you're going to do anything, work on the major things like your kitchen, flooring, paint, that sort of stuff. And styling obviously makes sense.
Yeah. And first impressions, like we did a before and after sort of for a client, and they said, we want to sell it as is. And we're like, okay, we can do it. And this is the base price you're going to get, market price. But what if you were to spend some money on doing some marketing or some landscaping at the front and just a bit of painting, et cetera? And they said, well, are we going to get our money back? And I'm like, if you spend $1, you'll get $3 back. The return on investment's there. So if it was me, if you were my parents, I would definitely be advising probably to go down that path. But that's your call. And they said, look, we'll get back to you. The next day they did it. They engaged the landscaper to do the front. They gave it a lick of paint. Put some shears in, just decluttered, and it went through the roof. It was a great result for the client. So to me, it comes back to each individual case, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If a seller's, if we've got an elderly couple that are, very quiet and private, they might say, and you would have dealt with this, where they're like, we don't want any marketing. We don't want the neighbours to know that we're moving. Yeah. Been here 50 years. We don't want a board. We don't want to have attention on us. Just sell it. That in some cases, like by the time it settles, the purchasers are brought it. Like and we'll say, look, you could probably get more money why don't you go to your retirement, go to your unit or retirement, we'll handle the sale. They're like, no, just get it done.
Yeah. Yep.
And so there's different types of sellers out there, but it comes back to individual circumstances. So.
Yeah. Yep.
And what about buyers looking to buy off you? What sort of things are you trying to prep them for? If there's not a lot of stock, are you sort of saying, have a look around, or maybe your budget's not realistic?
We're very down the line. I think if someone's looking and they're like, hey, can we go and buy a house in Frankston for five to 600? You're like, I think you're going to have to figure out where you're going to answer. No.
Are you looking at an apartment?
No, we always get their buyer brief, so it's no different. You guys and how you work. We'll say, look, if you can give me and fill out the details, and at least I can have it in the system. Once the property comes on, I can notify you, have a pre-market look at it, and then once it goes to market, if we're taking it through to an online campaign, they'll get, first rights to have a look and then go from there.
And it's important, as you know, when you're dealing with clientele, to have that pre-approval. Sometimes we've dealt with people that have like, and it's a rookie mistake. Like we've all done it early days. You sort of, I've got to buy, and then they go, we're going to go see the bank now. I'm like, hang on, we've got you to this point where in negotiations, and then you're telling me that you're not being pre-approved. Like, okay. So we like to go through that process. So we won't, we want to be dealing with those hot buyers, so to speak. So any buyers that miss out on an auction, for example, the underbidders, we tend to know that, okay, they're ready to go. Yep. We can potentially grab them if we've got a listing around the corner that we could potentially say, hey, you missed out on this one, but this one's coming on the market, and get them through. And that works well. So, yeah.
Speaking of auctions, what's it like in the Frankston market?
It's pretty hot. Yeah, it's we're 100%. So from a listing agent, I'm an auctioneer by trade, so I've been calling auctions in the area for, I think, 16 years now. So
long time.
It's a long time. And my first 10 auctions was 100%. Then my next 20 auctions, I didn't sell one under the hammer. So I was thinking to myself, what's going on? But we did end up selling most of them after the auction. But this year in 2025, we've done 30 auction campaigns for 100% clearance rate. So when we go to auction, we will sell. And we actually one of the things we talk about is 80% of the buyers. So we've done the last 3 years, we've done all our auction campaigns, and we've gauged who the first bidder was, and 80%, just under 80%, the first bidder will be the actual purchaser.
Yeah, interesting.
Interesting is that.
Yeah.
So we say that. So sometimes as you know,
I've heard it quoted to me 100 times as well. But
but we've done our stats, and it's actually starting to creep. I reckon it's starting to creep over the 80%. So like sometimes people will sit in an auction and go, "Oh, we'll be strategic." We purchased. I helped purchase a property for a client, and I strategically started quite low, and the auctioneer had every right, said, look, no, we're not going to take your offer. And I said, yeah, that's sure. But we placed that first bid, but it didn't. But we were the ones who ended up buying it. And they were very happy with that. But I would say that a lot of the buyers, they sit on the fence at an auction sometimes, and they then that's where Josh, and we'll prep them before the auction to say, look, this is what will probably happen.
You walk them through the process.
Yeah.
And if at the end of the day, they're there, they have a budget in mind, if they're bidding, sometimes auctions can make people a little bit nervous. But I think once you do that first bid, then the nerves are out. You're on the dance floor almost, and that's how they've got to look at it. That's a little buyer tip. I always say, I'm like, just if you put your hand up, just get first one out.
You might even get the champagne if you're the first bidder.
Or that's it, or the teddy bear, or
whatever's on offer.
Whatever's on offer, yeah. So, but it's a really important thing to do. So, auctions at the moment down there. Look, I've been calling auctions down in that Frankston or the 3199 postcode for been listing them for well over 20 plus years. And auctions they weren't the flavour of the month down there. You would say probably 10% of the campaigns of whether it be private sale or auction was probably 10% that would do. And I was always getting auction campaigns, and then I decided to become an auctioneer. And I just think it's just the easiest way to sell when it's an unconditional sale. There's no terms, conditions. The buyers do all their prep work. For the seller, it's great as well because they know, okay, once it's sold, they can go either shopping or they're like, we can, facilitate the settlement that we've got on what we need to do.
Yep. There's a lot of certainties both ways as well. Buyers know that day of auction, or if it's not it will sell before, at least they know, the owner would love a result on that day. And it's the same for the owner as well.
So. How do you like auctions?
I hate them. I genuinely don't even waste my time with them. I've probably been to 3 for clients this year.
Yeah.
They're all Frankston North, like kind of early on when Frankston North really started kicking off.
Yeah.
And both, like in 2 instances, one I thought we were like thereabouts, and the other one I said, look, we're not, but we'll be in it to win it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Frankston North, obviously, they had lots of first homeowners. Yeah. Auction opens, I reckon 4 people bid within the first 5 seconds. Like it was so much that they couldn't, like they didn't know, the selling agent didn't know whose bid was. The auction didn't know.
The auctioneer,
because they just kept yelling at numbers, like holding up paddles and stuff. And I was just there. I should have filmed it because it was like here's what not to do at auction. Like it was a perfect bit of content. But like it was crazy. And so all these first homeowners outbid each other, drove the price up. One couple thought they had it, and then this investor he was standing, just leaning on the fence, just like wins it with the last bid. He was a local investor, had never been through the property before, had asked just someone else there, have you done a building and pest on the property? And they're like, yep, yeah. And they're like, okay, this must be fine. I'll buy this one, thanks. And it was 100K probably off the top of the range, which again, and it wasn't, I guess, a known, underquoting agent or anything like that. It was just a property, and it's now probably relatively cheap compared to where the market is now. So
it's interesting. We've seen some competitive bidding, and investors buy it, and they don't even turn up. Like they've never turned up until the day of the auction. So I'll just walk through. We've had some situations where we're speaking to our clients before the auction. telling them, hey guys, look, we've got these buyers, and the buyers walking through, and we're like, oh, hey guys, we're about to call the auction. We're just having a brief with our client to settle their nerves, and they're walking through. I call the auction, and it's the guy that's walked through the last one. And he goes, oh, we just saw the open boards. We're just coming down.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. Like,
I bought one at auction 2 weeks ago for an owner occupier, and it was her first time going through the property.
Wow. There you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had been through it, but she just was very time poor, couldn't get through. And I was like, are you sure? This is the first time you've seen the property. We'll go unconditional today if we win at auction. Are you sure? Yep.
Wow.
Maybe changing tune a little bit, I guess, from the buyer. So lots of people who listen to the podcast, they're not obviously all our clients. There's a lot of people that are, just want to know more about the Melbourne market. Is there a particular question or like a type of buyer that, like, let's say you get a cold call from someone in Sydney or Perth and just says, I'm looking to buy in Frankston. Is there something that people say that just instantly puts you off? Or like what's something to avoid doing when they are reaching out to, I guess, agents here in Melbourne?
I would say maybe not unfair requests. Like I think when someone sends a message at like 10:30 at night.
At night.
And then just is super demanding, follows up, that next thing straight away in the morning. I think, you can, putting a property inquiry through realestate.com, if the agent's not getting back to you, then that's on the agent. That's also laziness, and that shouldn't be done. We have a very clear process. We make sure we get back to people within at least 24 hours, like under that. If not as soon as we can. We just don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So
the other thing I would say is I love talking over the phone. So text, I'm not a big texter, I must say. But, I'll make rapport with someone, get their information, and then next minute they're sending me every property they're looking at on realestate.com and I'm getting spammed. Let's just say, look, I'm not your buyer's agent. That's what I actually say. Look, I know a couple of buyer's agents that I could probably put you onto that could give you the advice, because to me, look, my job's to sell my clients' homes.
You represent the vendor. You work for their best interests.
And look, for us, we will have – there's many times where we'll walk out of a listing and we know that we haven't got it. We're there just purely on price to get an idea.
For a soundboard for them. Yeah,
for a soundboard. And, we'll say to the client, look, have you engaged an agent? Yes, we've selected such and such. If we've got some buyers that we think that it suits their buy brief, we'll contact them directly and say, look, we haven't secured this listing. However, they've gone with such and such from XYZ Real Estate. Give this guy a call. He's going to list it. And I think it could be right up your alley and what you're wanting. And they're like, wow, Josh, we're so appreciative of that, because for us, like, knowledge is power, as you know. So the more we can help a client, but when you get spammed at night with all these, like, oh, what do you think of this? Can you give me a score out of 10, whether it's value for money or not? I'm just sitting there going, probably. I'm not your buyer's agent. You can pay me a fee if you want, but the reality is I'm not interested. I'm here to sell property for our clients.
Yeah, it's funny because we do, as part of our process, we have like a 15-minute discovery call, just to get a better sense of what someone's looking to do, as a screening kind of mechanism as well. And I don't know what it is, but we're definitely a lot more selective with who we work with now as well, because it only takes one of those people that are either not serious, not genuine in terms of actually wanting to buy, or they're going to ask questions for weeks on end before maybe committing or that type of stuff. It can ruin your week, it can ruin your month.
It's like that seller that, I remember saying to Josh, and I've said it to many of the staff that I've had over the years, if you pick a phone call and you've got a seller calling you and you look at the phone and you go, oh, not him again or her again, you don't want those sort of clients. You want to be dealing with people that actually appreciate what you do for them. And they understand the process, they understand the work, and we've got a bit of a philosophy. We want to deal with people that they don't
want to deal with us.
Want to work with you.
Don't want to work with us.
It's an energy game.
Yeah, it's an energy game, because they can be zappers, and you can be spending 80% on these people, and not getting. You're spending 80% on the time of getting back, and et cetera, and then all of a sudden you've wasted all this time. So time's money. For us as agents, we work around the clock. We do what we can for our clients, but at the same time, I've got 4 kids, a wife, coach of
human beings.
I think people forget that. People forget in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I think it's great. We go to a local coffee shop, and there's a lot of people that we meet down there, and they actually see us.
What's your coffee shop pick?
Look, down at if I'm in Frankston South, it's Flourish on Norman Avenue. So great little pocket there. I've been going there for forever and a day. And then in Frankston, there's a couple there. Nature Cafe, they're pretty cool. Great service, great people. And what would be the other one you would say?
Common folk.
Common folk would be.
I tend to gravitate towards Two Boys, One Beagle.
We went there on the
love
weekend.
It, love it.
Yep.
If you're in the Kringle pocket, definitely that's your go-to.
It's a really cool, trendy. Actually, one of our clients, we sold her daughter works, Abby.
Yeah. For anyone who's out there that wants a good pizza place in Frankston, Yummy's Pizza.
Yummy's Pizza. Okay.
Yummy's Pizza. Yeah,
they do.
Check it out.
Yep.
Yeah, we've got a few on the list now, and people often send recommendations in. Like, I think, is it in Langwarrin? There's a place you want to try potato cakes, or
no, it's Cranbourne.
Cranbourne.
Okay, yeah.
Cam's Road Fish and Chips.
There you go.
Fish and Chip Shop. I think it's called. Yeah. They got Victoria, Australia's best potato cakes.
Really?
Yeah, but I think they flavour them or something. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. It's just, it was a recommendation that I've got to follow up at some point.
You're not too far away from if you're in Frankston, but it's a couple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit further away.
Do you buy much in Cranbourne?
Yeah, we are. Yep. Yeah. And again, I guess just where the market's moving. So like basically who we're buying for in Frankston North and that like price point, we're now doing that. So we know like obviously first homeowners doing a similar thing, but for us from an investment perspective, the data is very similar to kind of what Frankston North was. So just affordability, yields, all that type of stuff. It's a market we're doing a lot of buying.
Frankston North in terms of, what are the buyers, what are you saying that you love about the area? Because I mean, I know it has had a bad name over the years, but I mean, it's certainly changed massively.
Yeah, I think for us, it's so when we look at suburbs like that from a data perspective, the one like it ticks every box. The one it doesn't tick is like the renter to, I guess, owner occupier percentage, and it's like in the 50s.
That's changing though.
And that's why like we're happy to kind of, because the rest of the data's so good, and then like some of the growth we've already seen, the properties we've bought there is obviously quite good. Yeah. But because of what we're seeing on the ground, which is lots of first homeowners as well buying, it's not just investors buying up every house in Frankston North. There is that change in demographic. There's people moving down. So that's kind of what we're seeing, I guess, the most in that suburb.
Where do you reckon Frankston will go over the next year or two?
$1 million, I'd say. Yeah. Like median, it'll be there.
Or typical. The typical.
Oh, typical, I'd be almost there. I'd be like around, the median, like when we listen to it on CoreLogic or whoever, or Cotality, whoever they are now, I'd say $1 million at some point. So
absolutely. I agree 100%. It's interesting, Frankston North, you've got two of the best golf courses. Kingswood. I'm not sure if you've been down there.
I haven't played it. I've driven past it about 100 times. But
if you can drive through the gates, it's an incredible experience. Like I talk to people that probably on this podcast you'll probably get a lot of people driving down there, but the gates open up and you're strolling in. It's like you're in an American, like a resort type scenario, and the nature that's around it. So you've got all this, it's one of the, I think in the top 10 in Australia golf courses. And then you've got Long Island, who's been taken over by the National. So they're redeveloping all that. So we are, funny enough, we're meeting a lot of golfers that are coming down this way. They're like, we were with the National. We're actually going to go to Long Island and play. So it's quite an interesting. I mean,
a lot of AFL footballers are playing golf in Frankston North.
Not what you expect.
You would not expect. It's amazing. You can go down Sky Road, and years ago it would be the streetscape's definitely changed. So a lot more people have come in. They're a lot more house proud, but like 4 or 5 years ago, or even 10 years ago, you drive down Sky Road and it was really shabby. Then you turn left into the gates open up and it's like a different world. Now it's starting, I believe that it's starting to filter through, which is, that's why Kringle's become, I think they had the first $1 million sale on Sky Road there.
On Sky Road.
On Sky Road as well.
Wow.
A couple of
Speaking of main roads, are there any areas in Frankston North that you would definitely avoid, whether it's due to, social housing or flood zones, those sorts of things?
Yeah, look, there's certainly some parts of Frankston that I would avoid. Just purely because of the social.
As a buyer, so someone who's looking to buy.
Yeah, there are some parts I would say sort of, off Orwell Street. There's a little pocket there that I would probably steer away. There's been some lovely homes that we've been able to sell down there, but you do get the odd character or two that's, probably needs some help. But then you've got, Frankston North. Look, Frankston North's one where we see a lot of people that will buy in there. I would say try and steer clear off the main roads. That would be, Frankston dandy. But if you go off Excelsior Drive, Forest Drive, there's some beautiful pockets in there. Some even in Frankston North back on, and they can look over and see the beautiful golf courses in Peninsula Kingswood, which is, and some of them have even got bay views. Yeah, which is incredible. So but best parts to buy. I mean, everyone talks about Gould Street.
Yeah, if you can afford it.
If you can afford it, we just sold one in there. We actually got a record for a 2-bedroom place.
What did it go for?
2.25
for a 2-bedroom.
For a 2-bedroom.
Yeah. Well done.
And it was there's only 430 plus properties that the title touches the sand, and that was one of them. So it's very rare. So like Frankston's got you got from pretty much Beach Street all the way down to Mile Bridge. You've got all these homes, and then from pretty much Carrum all the way through to Mordialloc, you've got all those homes, and then it goes to Beach Road, and there's no. If you look,
you can't. It's across the road.
Yeah, it's a very exclusive little pocket. The Esplanade and Cliff Road in Frankston, they're also really sought after pockets. So. Or streets, I should say.
Yeah, thanks again for coming in. Hopefully the listeners have taken plenty away from that. If you own a property in Frankston South and surrounds, what's the best way to get in contact with you guys if they're looking to sell?
We've got our details online, but hit us up on 0425 728 670.
We'll include it in the show notes.
Including the show notes.
You've got in the show notes so they can get to it. So good. Awesome. Thanks again, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Guy.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Melbourne Property Podcast. Just a reminder that this information is general in nature and should not be considered financial advice. If you'd like to discuss your personal situation, book a discovery call with the team at Convergence Buyers Agents. Our link is in the show notes.
If you learned something from this podcast, hit subscribe and never miss your fortnightly dose of Melbourne property insights. Catch you next time, and happy house hunting!